Sales doesn't just teach you about how to make money. It teaches you how to handle rejection, pressure, and uncertainty. For a lot of people, that's the difference between staying stuck and building real leverage. This is the Legacy Builders podcast, where we are redefining generational wealth one story at a time. I'm your host, Mario Gonzalez Jr., and by the end of this conversation, you'll understand why sales just isn't a job. It's a long-term skill that shapes confidence, ownership, and opportunity across generations. Today is my guest, Cody LaHoste. Hopefully, I did not mispronounce your name, man. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you are a B2B sales operator, founder, and someone who's lived the pressure of sales long enough to understand both the upside and the cost. Cody, before we start digging into my generational wealth framework, I want to give you the floor. Why don't you tell the folks hearing you for the first time who you are and what you're building right now?
Yeah, absolutely. You got the name right, first of all,
Sweet.
so thank My name's Cody LaHoste. As Mario said, I'm the founder of BeamPath, a go-to-market consultancy that helps founders and revenue leaders save sales by fixing hidden story gaps in their go-to-market system between marketing, sales, and customer success. Built from 15 years of cross-functional expertise, BeamPath system bridges the gap with repeatable value stories that survives internal translation from first touch to renewal.
Okay. Before sales and before BeamPath, what did your early relationship with money in the world look like?
Complex. Come from a very small town and a blue collar family. Not a lot of entrepreneurs among them. So it was learning as I went. I picked up a lot of what I learned about money and the value of it, saving, building wealth. Once I got into my career and once I started meeting other people, working with clients over the years on their businesses and how they built things, how to use money to build what you want to build in your
Mhm.
life and career. But that was definitely a journey. It's still an ongoing journey because I didn't have a lot of that when I was younger,
Yeah.
great resources to learn from.
Mhm. What did you think success was supposed to look like back then?
Back then, it was pursuing something that you were good at. It tells you things that you were good, was in gifted programs and did very well in school. So everyone would push, uh, either like being a doctor or a lawyer, something like that.
Mm.
And getting into, I went the business route, but then to me it was staying with someone, working your way up, and retiring with them. Usually, maybe in the executive branch by that time. Uh, Once you worked your way into it, that's what a lot of people in my life had done, is
Mm.
worked their way and stayed in something, not necessarily building something of their own.
Yeah, I can relate. I was told to be an architect or to do all these things, and then I went to college, well, community college. I didn't fully commit to university. And then at the end of it, I was like, nope, it's not for me. I want to go the business route. And I ended up getting stuck in software B2B sales for 8 years. So we have a lot to unpack there. And speaking of
Oh,
sales, why sales for you?
I kind of fell into it,
Yeah.
like yourself. Once I graduated from university, I still had no idea really what I wanted to do. I think that's a big ask for a 20-something-year-old.
Mm.
And I started off in CPG initially, and learned my sales skills from there, working with some major brands like Miller Coors and Red Bull, and saw the kind of the value of alignment between marketing and sales. I knew that marketing was a route that I wanted it to involve. So
Mm.
then from there, went to a more of an account executive role in B2B tech, around CRM systems and sales systems, marketing automation for businesses and selling those types of solutions as well as strategizing on the marketing end with it. But it was really just falling into it and learning from other sellers, learning through coaching and things, and on my own how to
Mm,
do it, how to sell, why people buy.
yeah. What did sales teach you?
Taught me to have patience, to and to have a fortitude that especially when you're in it, that you're going to hear no a lot more than you want
Mm,
to, and that's okay sometimes because not everybody's going to be your buyer,
yeah.
and which is fine. A lot of businesses make the mistake of thinking that that's not the case, but it is,
Yeah.
and just being in control of your own income to a degree, having to go find people and solicit them or market to them and trying to get them interested, and find out why they would buy something, what they're doing, why they would buy something from you, that provides value to them in some sort of way, and
Yeah. I had
why
to
that can.
get, sorry to cut you off. I had to get really comfortable being uncomfortable. I call myself a introvert all the time, and stepping into the sales world, having to talk to people and try and convince them to buy a service was difficult enough. And sometimes I was put in situations where there was a service or solution that I was selling that I didn't fully believe in myself, so that made it 10 times harder, you know.
Yeah.
So I think communication was probably a huge one for me. Is there anything with, green or even seasoned sales reps that you see as a constant theme where they have roadblocks and it's just keeping them from unlocking that next level?
Um, not not leaning on resources a lot of the
Mm,
times. Looking at that there what has always worked will always work
mm,
for any audience, for any product, any buyer, and not leaning on the other resources that are around, especially depending on the maturity of the organization. If they have people that are enabling them in some sort of way, creating enablement material that are doing things like win-loss analysis,
mm,
um, being involved in that and understanding that your marketing team is there to help you and that you should be helping each other in what you're doing in order for you to be able to sell more easily. Doesn't
mm.
have to be you against the world
Yeah.
at all there. In a mature organization, it's a different story when it's a solo or a small business, but when you have a growing organization, it's a team effort, and it needs to be a team effort in order for everyone to hit their goals.
Yeah, man, my software engineer was my best friend. Every time I had a call, I was like, "Hey, Ryan, you got to hop on the phone right now, because I can open the door, but I need you to help me close it." You know?
Tech people.
Yeah, oh, yeah, man, tech people, man. And then also the other layer to that is not everybody is going to respond to the same message. I had to learn how to tailor the conversation, whether I'm talking to the PC tech or the CFO or whoever it was, So definitely tailoring the conversation.
Mhm.
I find, at least in my experience, that people kind of glamorize B2B sales. What is a part that nobody talks about?
B2B sales. Um, it is, it takes a long time, and the cycles are very long, and we're always about, and especially executives, business leaders, always about speed and wanting to get more in the door, get more leads, more
Mm,
revenue, more business. But when you're talking B2B, especially at higher levels, enterprise levels, or higher ticket items, it takes time. And that's just part of the process, is that it takes time. You're not going to one call close everyone that you talk to.
yeah.
And you have to build the relationships and in different ways, through maybe some events sometimes, or through conversations where you turn into a therapist with them, where you're not selling
Mm,
anything, you're just kind of listening and helping them through a challenge to get them to where you know that you want to go. A lot of the biggest sales that I've had in my career, huge projects that were around either about M&A or launching something new, rebranding. We didn't start there. We started from something else, and I would work with customers over time and troubleshoot small things to earn trust.
Mm,
And the whole time, bringing up little things, dropping nuggets here and there of where I knew we were going. And by the time you can help them see that picture a little more clearly over time, it can help when you actually get really to that sale that you're looking for. It makes it so much easier
yeah.
when you have that built-in trust with them already.
Yeah. Has there ever been a moment in your career or current journey where you're like, oh crap, I don't know what I'm doing, or you had a huge issue that you had to solve?
Yeah, I mean, everything now with building BeamPath, a consultancy,
Mm,
I've worked on hundreds of businesses and different products and teams and things before and helped them in a lot of different ways with sales and strategy and marketing. But doing something solo that's like that, just understanding what it even was at first and what to do exactly, it's the hardest because it's coming from me. It is an extension of me, I think. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to build and market, but at the same time, it's more rewarding because each time that you hit a goal or you unlock something or you make a mistake, honestly, you fail
yeah.
at something and you realize that that's not right, let me go in this direction, you learn something about yourself and you get better. And I think that that's and certainly in terms of entrepreneurship, that's where a lot of people out there will either quit or where they're afraid to try it in the first
Mm,
place because
yeah.
of hitting that sort of barrier.
So true. How does it feel being responsible for carrying a quota as a salesperson versus you're setting your own quota now, right? And your own goals.
Yeah, yeah. It was it's a different kind of challenge.
Hmm.
I've been in a situation before where I was in a sales type adjacent role. It was kind of a hybrid role that was sales. I became director of go-to-market, but it was sales, customer success, marketing all in one, and working with those teams. And I didn't really have a quota, but it was a part of my income, so I set my own then, but it wasn't everything. So I've kind of picked up some tips from that on how to set those goals that are realistic versus being in previous roles before that, where again it was more for the sake of more sometimes with
Yeah.
what we were expected to do and hit in certain, not even just the sales goals, but certain other metrics that they wanted to track. Where my thinking the whole time was like, for example, sending, let's call 100 people every day. Okay. I would rather call 5 people and have a really good conversation with all of them than call a bunch of people that are never going to buy anyway. To
Mm,
me, that just makes more sense.
yeah.
And uh, that's how I had success in those types of roles. So it's uh, it's been an evolution, I think, for learning like what the expectations are in another business, and that building my own thing and having my what goals that I'm working towards. I know that there's multiple scopes there, and sales is just one, and that I can sort of lean into the thing that I need to focus on in a given moment or where my energy is taking me
Yeah.
at that given time. And sometimes that's not sales, and that's not doesn't need to
Mm,
be every day. And that's a much more natural fit for me than having kind of those heavy everyday, quota driven roles where that's all you do.
yeah. Yeah. I totally remember I always felt like I was living my life a quarter at a time. Okay.
Yeah.
What's my quota going to be for these next 3 months, And then being in the driver's seat and seeing the fluctuation month over month where there's some seasonality in the businesses that I have, right? So
Mhm.
I'm always just curious when I talk to other salesmen who have transitioned from carrying a quota to, now building a business and having to drive revenue and setting expectations for the team. So Is there a belief that you had to unlearn to not only get good at sales necessarily, but in terms of money or building?
I think definitely being able to say, to recognize, to say no, and to recognize. Two of the, in my work, two in my career, some of the biggest mistakes that businesses try to make is not really being clear on their audience
Mm.
and trying to take anyone that will come in and the problems that that causes downstream of that for the people that are actually doing the work. So understanding, being able to recognize that on teams I was on and now in my own business where this is not going to be a fit and that's okay. Um, if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. And that not all revenue is good. It can be detrimental in different ways that you don't
Oh yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah. Is there a mistake that through your career you kept repeating and then you had a light bulb moment and fixed it?
Uh, being inside of organizations and sort of taking leadership roles, but sort of taking everything that comes your way and saying yes to those things and filling up your plate and burning out as a result of it was definitely a big one that I've faced in different times throughout my career. And I think a lot of people do that. We want to demonstrate impact. We want to show someone, manager, executives, and things that um, that we're capable, that we're more, and we think that just taking on every little thing is the way to do that when it's not. Having those boundaries in place to be able to tell people that, hey, this is what I do, this is what I can offer, this is what is the priority right now. If you need me to do this, is what how does this shift around these other priorities and what's really important here? Or is there someone else that would be more capable of taking that particular thing right now? That was something I ran into a ton earlier in my career.
Mm. Do you see sales as a short-term income skill or a long-term wealth skill?
A wealth skill, absolutely. It's one of the most valuable that you can learn because it teaches you about yourself, it teaches you about communication, and really just about people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get hung up on the term sales and what it means and being like a used car salesperson or the kind of the
Yeah.
characters that you see in movies and things. I don't think about it that way at all. I think about it more as like giving value. I'm helping you. I take a consultative approach, which makes being a consultant now very natural,
Hmm.
where we're diagnosing and understanding what problems you're having, and then I'm offering different thinking and solutions on how to reframe your thoughts so we can work together on how to solve that problem. That to me is what sales is at its core. Um, it's not necessarily, being the one that sells the biggest thing or the most or anything. It's solving problems.
Yeah.
And if you can take that into any aspect of your life.
Yeah. I had to learn really early to listen more than I talk, you know?
Yeah.
And I think for any salesperson, especially somebody who's green, just getting into it, that's key. Listen for the actual problem. Don't try and sell the solution right away.
Yeah.
What does generational wealth mean for you, Cody?
When I hear generational wealth, I don't immediately think money.
Mm.
I think freedom, opportunity, and really in any aspect of life, I'm always thinking systems. So money can be lost quickly if the
Mm.
thinking that created it isn't passed down through generations. What compounds in that in business and life is clarity. How decisions get made, how risk is understood, how effort turns into outcomes. I've watched a ton of really talented people burn years of their life inside of broken systems and blame themselves for it, give up on dreams. I was one of them too at one point in time. I think that's a systemic and a structural issue, but overcoming that comes from within. So generational wealth to me means building the things to do that. Companies, frameworks, ways of thinking that don't rely on heroics to function, and they can provide that freedom to the people in your life and beyond. Money's part of it, but it's downstream of the clarity and the
Yeah.
discipline to get there in the first place.
Yeah. That's a constant theme that comes up in these conversations is that knowledge transfer, right? Not only to your family, but to your friends and uh, distant relatives, as long as you can. It's like the idea of teach a man to fish and you can eat forever, so totally understand that.
Yeah.
What's the cost of someone never learning how to sell, especially if they want to build something?
You are going to have a hard time with understanding the science behind it and the psychology
Mm,
behind why people buy and how you can get them interested in something that you have, because you have to have the conversations first of all. A lot of people have great ideas. Some of them are great ideas, but you have to validate that and make sure that there's people that are willing to pay for it, and that you have a system in place that allows for that. So not having that skill, it it limits what you're going to be able to do, at least initially. When you're if you're building on your own, eventually, if you're not, that's not your strongest suit, which a lot of business owners have known that's the case. You can hire someone for that, and that makes it easier. But when you're building on your own initially in the beginning, uh, having those conversations is key, and that having the sales skills that you bring in to know to just, like you said, to listen, to ask questions, to not talk constantly. That those types of things come once you do it for a while, you don't even realize anymore. It becomes
yeah.
second nature and natural to you.
Yeah. One word you keep mentioning is systems. Is there a story behind that, and why is it so important for you?
Yeah. I so I for 15 years of my life, I thrive in my career. I thrived in different worlds, working with clients in consultative sales and marketing strategy, being a leader within organizations and working with clients. I was really good at helping other people with find their clarity wherever they were in their business. But internally, I was living inside of systems that rewarded noise over truth. Some of the things that we talked about before with focusing on doing more over doing right in different areas. And I realized I was translating value differently, but I was having the same conversations on repeat, and they weren't always getting it. And with different industries, different verticals, different stages, and I realized from a go-to-market perspective that a lot of those issues came from the system and the foundation that the strategy was built on. It didn't have a system. Everyone was operating in silos. Sales was doing their own thing, marketing, customer success, product was building on their own. Nobody was really focused on the customer at the center of that or on how it all worked together. And to me, that is what go-to-market is. It's not a launch, it's a system. It's an engine that works together for that. So when I saw that pattern that repeated across so many teams, I realized that's the real problem. It's a systemic problem. It's not a problem of you need more leads or that you need a new message or you need to know what channel. It's all of those things, but it's knowing where in the system that breakdowns happen. Why didn't this sell exactly, or why doesn't that channel work? And it usually goes back to earlier stages with the market or audience clarity or positioning around what the actual value story is. If you can build that better, then the whole system works together in a fluid way. And I think that that's something that once I learned that, it's something that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I carry that with me into life and into business as well.
Yeah. What are you building towards now? I mean, obviously your business, right? But what trajectory is that going to put you on? Like, what's your mission?
Mission is really to help other people. Like I said, I've watched a lot of, I come from a small town, come
Hmm.
from humble beginnings, watched a lot of hardworking people work harder every year and get less clear, abandon their goals and ambitions. Some passed away young with little to show for it. I want to reverse that curve for myself and for anyone that my work touches. So that means choosing things that compound, that framework systems, thinking that other people can use without me in the room.
Mm,
So I do that through consulting, through content, so on LinkedIn, but podcasts, speaking at events, distributing the message through more channels, getting into speaking engagements in 2026 is a main goal. Eventually writing a book or series of them in a couple of years. If someone can move faster, with less burnout because of something that I built,
yeah.
making things clearer, that's legacy to me.
Yeah. That's great, man. Speaking of legacy, for someone who wants to build it, but they avoid discomfort or maybe rejection or failure or pressure, what would you tell them? How do you get them out of that comfort zone?
Yeah, it's failure always is the best teacher. You can hear and you can read, and but to have the discipline, you have to have that failure. It's not a bad thing. Um, one of the one of the quotes that has always resonated with me is Michael Jordan's quote about failure, because
Mm,
I'm pretty sure none of your listeners think of Michael Jordan as a failure. I certainly don't.
yeah.
But he said that he missed a ton of shots and lost many games, and he failed again and again and again in life, and that's why he succeeded. And that
Mm,
has been something that's always stuck with me, is that just that's part of the process that happens. What you want to avoid is having your confidence collapse with it, and understanding that those failures are teaching moments. They're learning moments that you know what not to do and how to do better to reach the goals that you were striving for. It's dangerous sometimes. It can feel like it's the end, but the cost of not doing that is greater than going through it.
mm. I've known so many people who have started something, failed at it, and they're scared to start whatever the next thing is. I think it's a huge roadblock for some folks, and that's part of my goal and my journey is to help people overcome that fear. It doesn't have to be sales. It doesn't have to be starting a business. It could be something just completely off brand for them. So that's good. I like that. Uh,
Yeah.
how can people find you, Cody?
Mostly on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
all over LinkedIn. You can get me on there at Cody LaHoste. You can also find me on my website, beampath.co. Find me on other channels as well at C LaHoste, Facebook, YouTube. Um, but LinkedIn will be the primary one to reach me. And if you have a podcast or anything, speaking event that you'd like to hear about, go to market, challenges behind that, I would happy to speak to you.
sounds great, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate your insights and for being on the show. I think we just scratched the surface, and we'll probably have to get you on again here in 6 to 12 months and see where you're at in your journey.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. I appreciate you having me on, Mario. Thanks.
All right, thanks, sir.